Alright, what is going on, guys? Today we're back with a Season 5 tips and tricks video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you guys end up using any of my tips, make sure to drop a comment and a like. With that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so tip number 1 is pretty much just use the firing range all the time whenever you can. The firing range pretty much allows you to work with any weapon, so you can pretty much learn any weapon's recoil inside of the firing range without having to worry about losing a game and having to restart the process all over, dropping from the ship and dropping into a hot zone. Every gun in this game has its own unique recoil pattern, and it's important to learn what that recoil pattern is. So you should definitely spend some time in the range and practice with whatever gun you want, but make sure that the weapon doesn't have any attachments on it. Now, the reason why you don't want attachments on your weapon is because you want to get a good feeling for whatever your recoil is on that gun with no attachment. Almost every single gun on Apex is worse without any attachments on it, so if you can get used to a certain gun's recoil pattern without attachments, you will be far better off when you do have attachments on the gun. Now, you don't have to be in the range for hours on end, but I would recommend jumping in there before you get into your first game, which is usually what I do, especially if I haven't been on all day. Another thing while you guys are in the range is you guys should definitely try to manage your recoil on one of the long range targets in the back of the range. What I usually do, especially if I'm feeling really rusty, I try to hit 100 damage on the very back ones with a no attachment, no magazine R99. So I pretty much do that until I'm satisfied with myself and my aim. Another big thing is changing your button layout to button puncher. Now, what this allows you to do is switch your default button layout from pressing the circle button to crouch to pressing down on your right stick to crouch, or if you're on Xbox, the B button to your right stick. And doing that pretty much allows you to crouch spam just as good as a person who has a scuff just like me. So if you guys have a normal PS4 or Xbox controller, I would definitely recommend trying that setting out. Since we're talking settings too, you guys should definitely try out changing your colorblind setting to Tritanopia. It is in the accessibility tab under the gameplay setting. If you turn that on, what that essentially does is turns your red dot into a yellow dot. It also messes with the colors on the HUD, but nothing too bad. Me personally, I have this setting on, since I feel like the yellow dot is more vibrant to me than the red dot. One thing that involves my movement in my gameplay is slide jumping. If you guys aren't slide jumping yet, you guys definitely need to try this out. Now, this is one of those situations where you don't really need a scuff controller. You could definitely do it with a default controller, but with the scuff, this will be much easier to do, and to do consistently too. Now, to hit constant slide jumps, you need to wait a little bit so you can hit max speed while you're running, because in this game, you don't hit max speed as soon as you start running. It takes a little bit, maybe like a second or two, not even. So I know that sounds complicated, but it's really not. Once you get the hang of it after a few games, you will definitely start to feel what that max speed is and when you can hit the slide jump consistently and when you can't. Now, the reason why you want to do this slide jump all the time is because it's actually faster than just sprinting. Once you get the hang of this, you'll pretty much be doing this all the time without even thinking about it. If you guys want to start improving against real players and not just bots in the range, what I would recommend doing is dropping hot all the time. Now, trust me when I say this, this is going to be the most frustrating thing you're going to do in order to improve, because I promise you, you're going to die a lot. But the fact of the matter is that after a few weeks of doing this, you're going to be so much better than what you were doing before, which if you're a new player, I'm just going to assume you're landing pretty safe, not too many people around you, and probably looting for the rest of the game. I'm not saying looting is bad or anything, but if you're doing it for most of the game and not getting into engagements, like if you find yourself having like a 3-kill game and you played out all 15 minutes of it, you're not going to be improving at the same rate as the guy who's dropping hot all the time, because that guy dropped into a highly populated area, and if he's actually good, he's going to get a good amount of kills. And even if this person does die, he's still going to have more engagements than the guy who decided to land safe and loot for 14 minutes. That's pretty much how I improved back in Season 1, Season 0, when Skulltown was still around. That's the only place I would drop, with Bunker being the exception. Even now in this season's King's Canyon and World's Edge, I always drop hot because I feel like that's the most fun to me. And like I said, it's a great way to improve. Another thing about looting is don't take forever to loot, because by looting a large area by yourself and you're not being quick about it, will result in less engagements and less kills, because all of those people that are dropping hot or dropping in a modestly populated area will end up dying. So there are less people in the game for you to kill or get into engagements with. Since we're on the topic of looting, while playing solo, I've seen a lot of people actually not armor swap right after getting into a fight, and also people not armor swapping when they're about to get into a third-party fight. So some people don't take advantage of the fact that there's usually perfectly good body armors sitting all around them right after they got into a fight, and instead they're just trying to heal up in the middle of a big third-party fight. Another thing about shields that I usually do just in ranked games, since nobody in ranked wants to lose points, it usually ends up being a rat fest. So usually everybody's camping up in a building, bunkering up with Caustic, Watson. If we end up killing this team that's bunkered up, and we decide to stay there with all their boxes in there with all their armors in it, what we end up doing is taking out all their armors from the boxes and placing them next to us, just in case we get pushed and we have armor swaps ready to go without going into their boxes. As far as 20 bombs go, I've gotten mostly all of them solo from just dropping hot a bunch of times and just slaying out. But other than having a really good hot drop off the start of the game, in terms of kills and loot, what you also want to do is pay attention to where everybody else is dropping. Not everybody's going to go to the hot zone or the main building in Capital on World's Edge. So what I usually do when I'm landing is I press L2 and look around behind us while on the ship, so then I know where to rotate after I get my kills at the hot drop. But even if I do that all correctly, sometimes the game just doesn't work out because people end up dying way too fast anyways. So 20 bombs are definitely a matter of luck, but you can definitely get them if you know where to go, and of course if you can actually get the kills. One thing that could help you find people or have those people find you is shooting into the air. I've literally done this a bunch of times. When I feel like there's no people around us, there's always a team of rats there just trying to play it safe, and those shots pretty much just bait them in so they engage you. And I'm not saying it works all the time, but the times I have done it, it's worked out to my benefit. But fair warning, this will attract any team, and I've actually done this a lot of times to the point where I've actually gotten 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th partied even in the same game from just shooting once in the air trying to attract more people to my location. Now to all my Wraith players, I know we just got a nerf to our phase, but trust me when I say this, you can actually be a lot more aggressive with the phase now. Ever since the nerf came around, I've actually found myself using the phase more aggressively to flank the enemy, and in doing so, that allows my teammates to end up trading me if I do go down. Pretty much the way I would use the phase now is just phase right in front of their face if we're all team firing each other, and I just end up getting behind them and getting at least one pick or one down, and then we end up trading and winning that whole engagement just because I phase behind them aggressively. Now, I'm not saying go ahead and phase in front of the people's faces all the time because it does have its time and place, but maybe because the nerf is new and I haven't seen that many people actually use it, maybe nobody expects it. Me personally, I have not been flanked by a Wraith like that yet. Maybe I'll start seeing it a lot more when people start figuring out that you can be a lot more aggressive with the phase now, but we'll see about that. Another change that came to Apex recently was Lifeline's buff / nerf. Now I actually know a couple Lifeline mains that consider this one a nerf just because the game took away their fast healing, and that pretty much means that they can't be as aggressive healing during fights and getting right back into it to re-engage the enemy, which in my opinion actually is pretty huge because most Lifeline mains really depended on that ability to heal really quick and just re-up against the enemy. But since that nerf came around, I've actually seen a lot of good Lifeline mains just insta-res, sticking reses in the middle of a really big fight, and it just works every time. Mainly because they're taking advantage of the fact that the shield is literally a mini Gibby bubble from the front, and even if you don't manage to get the res off, you just keep spamming the res button and just take advantage of that shield that it offers you when the teammate's getting revived. Especially if you're a Lifeline with a gold backpack, now you just have to insta-res everybody. Like I said, it doesn't even matter if you get the reses off. Use the cover and try to bait your teammates, and if they manage to get up, now you're a 2v3 instead of a 1v3. That being said, I know that's pretty obvious to a lot of you, but trust me when I say this, all this time I've been playing solo, I've seen a lot of dumb things and a lot of really dumb Lifeline people just not sticking reses when that's pretty much their only job in some cases, and it's pretty ridiculous. So now with this recent Lifeline change, all of you Lifeline mains better be resing aggressively now. Just don't even worry about it, just get the reses and use that shield. One more change that came with this update is Revenant's buff to his totem. It still does the same thing it used to do before this buff, but now instead of having limited range, it now has an unlimited range, so you could literally put down a totem right next to a balloon, hit that balloon, go all the way up, drop down on people, and you'll still go back to your totem all the way back where you left off without any major repercussions besides your health, obviously. So this one change pretty much made Revenant meta in the high ranked games. I'm not saying Revenant wasn't somewhat in the meta already before, but now there's a lot more Revenant mains out there and a lot more people playing Revenant just because of that totem buff. Speaking from personal experience, Revenant is so annoying to play against, but it works so well. Especially a coordinated Revenant push by a coordinated team with compatible legends. One example that I can think of a coordinated Revenant push is a team consisting of Wraith, Revenant, and Crypto. So pretty much what a team can do with these legends is Wraith can portal towards a location while Crypto EMPs, and then Revenant sets up his totem, and after Crypto EMPs, all you gotta do is just clean them up. They're at half health with their shields, and the best part about this, you're still in the Revenant totem, so even if you do end up getting low or getting sent back to the totem, you're fine. You just heal back up, or you don't even have to heal. You could just hit the portal and just ape them again, because after all that, I can promise you that the other team's gonna be way lower than what your team is gonna be, and that is just some easy KP in ranked. Again, speaking from personal experience, that Revenant push is deadly. It's just so annoying, especially when it's a really aggressive, good team that's fighting against you. And since the rank split just started, currently I'm Diamond 2, and I've seen so many Revenant pushes, just like I said before. So if you guys ever want to try to strat, I'd recommend doing that one. You can be highly aggressive with it, especially with third parties. It can be so easy to wipe out a team and just get your kill points early on in the game. If you guys used any of my tips, drop a like, leave a comment. If you guys want to see more, turn on notifications when you subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.